So hello, my friends and Pega partners from all over the world. Welcome to what I'm calling the Don Schuerman edition of the Pega Partner Hour, a monthly webinar that provides Pega partners with support in the sales, technical, and industry domains. Listen, welcome back. Where's everybody been for the last couple months? All right, kidding aside, it's great to have the holidays and vacations and calendars that didn't match up behind us and back to having everybody in mid-season form. A couple quick notes. As always, we record these sessions. If you prefer not to be recorded, please feel to drop from the call. And you're welcome to watch the recording at a later time. Before we introduce today's very special guest, a quick reminder, Pega World is coming, and it's coming faster than you think. Registration is open. As always, the place is Las Vegas, Nevada, and the time is June 1st to June 3rd. You can get all the information at pegaworld.com, but I want to give you an inside scoop. And some of you took me up on this last year. First, right now until April 18th, general admission is $1,195, but you can get a team pass of 5 on sale for $2,975. That means the price of the pass is $595 each. That's over 50% off. So if you're on a team of 5, definitely jump on this and do it quick because it's going away April 18th. And when it's gone, it's gone. But listen, I hear some of you, you're saying, hey, Randy, I'm only on a mighty team of 1 or 2. So what do you got for me? Well, for you, my friends, reach out to me directly and I'll try to put a couple of those teams together in kind so you can take advantage of that great deal as well. But again, I got to tell you, on April 18th, it will be gone and they do not open it back up. So let's take advantage of that and come out to Las Vegas. We always have a great time and would love to see you. All right. Now, please allow me to introduce one of the most dynamic presenters, not only at Pega, but really in all of technology. This man does a lot. He's a self-described lucky husband and an exhausted father. He's an avid biker, a person who has been known to improvise from time to time. And I asked Gemini, who is Don Schuerman? And part of the answer was pretty interesting. Don, you'll probably like this. It says, and I quote, Don is known to be a great communicator who is able to explain complex technical ideas at every level. So I thought that was quite complimentary. Yep. So what has he done at Pega? Well, the more I think about it, we'd have to change the Pega Partner Hour to the Pega Partner 3-hour episode just to go over everything he's done at Pega, because he's done it all, from service consultant to systems engineer to sales architect to architecture and engineer, right on up to CTO and vice president of product strategy and marketing. My friends, I give to you the one and only, always entertaining and very informing, Mr. Don Schuerman. Please take it away, Don.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Randy, and thank you everybody for being here. We're going to keep this pretty fun and pretty engaging. So I don't know if is everybody else still hearing music, or is that just me? Am I just the only one hearing music? Maybe it's just on my end. Hold on here.
It might just be you.
That was me. I thought, Randy, you had this incredible music underpinning you, and it turned out that I had just bumped my own Apple Music and turned it on. So I'm going to talk a little bit today about Pega's roadmap, about where we're going. But more than anything, I want to leave this as an open conversation. So if you have questions or places you want me to go deep, feel free to pop those on an ongoing basis into the chat, and we'll talk a little bit more. So, as when I think about the roadmap, and when we think about Pega World, and you actually saw this in Randy's slide that he popped up, which is we're really thinking about agentic automation, agents and workflows, and legacy transformation. So large pieces of what we're doing and working with the product team, and we think about what's on the roadmap and what's coming, and also what is continuously coming in a little thing called Blueprint, is all around how do we make that both possible, achievable, and visible to all of you, but also to our joint clients. So, you hopefully, if you've been around Pega, you've seen this before. This is the center out architecture. This is how Pega is uniquely able to take all the awesome decisions we put into CDH and the workflows we put into our platform and customer service products and the power of case management to pull all those pieces together and make it actually work across a wide variety of front ends and across all the different back ends and data stores that a client may have. Um, and one of the things that we've done as we've been working and thinking about, all right, great, well, what happens in a world where more and more of this is AI agents, is we've introduced on top of the DX API, which again, hopefully many of you are familiar with, and hopefully many of you have worked with, the idea of an Agent X API or Agent Experience API that allows you to actually interact with a Pega workflow as in a dynamic and experiential way. And as a matter of fact, I'll pull up some of the latest versions of Blueprint and really show you what this looks like. But also allowing agents to really creep into some of the stuff that we've done in live data so that the live data pages over the next couple of releases are going to get smarter so that not only can they pull data in, but they can dynamically predict what data they might need and go and get it automatically based on historical as they continue to learn and get smarter, and then distribute that data across a wide variety of endpoints, whether it's other existing systems and API in the client base, our own cloud data stores, or being able to push data out in real time to things like data lakes. So I'll talk a little bit about some of the changes that we've put into the data streaming capabilities starting in 24.2 and then coming in 24.1. So the next big piece of that is what we have been calling the agent fabric. So you're going to hear, and many of you may be familiar with what we've done in process fabric, which basically allows us to have a common list, a common directory of business processes and workflows running in any Pega application. They don't have to all be in the same physical app. They could be distributed across different Pega apps, and even has the ability for your non-Pega apps to plug in. Well, now imagine taking that process fabric capability and turning it into the agent fabric for the enterprise. So being able to have an agent that can hit a directory service from Agent Fabric and conversationally find any workflow in the business it might need to automate the work that needs to be done. Imagine that agent being able, if it can't find the workflow, to be able to use the underlying capability of Blueprint to dynamically author and suggest the workflow that it wants to run in real time, but have that all happen with a high degree of governance and auditability and human control. So that's where we're heading with Agent Fabric. And if we get a little bit, I'll show you some of the pieces and some of the areas in which we've been evolving the product to drive that. All of this is really around how do we continually help move our customers up the journey to the autonomous enterprise? How do we move them from work that's purely unmanaged and manual to adding automation, to adding some of the intelligence that we've put into things like Process AI, but really understanding that we are truly getting to be autonomous. Forrester just yesterday released a report on sort of the state of autonomous agents and autonomous automation. And their primary call to action was that CEOs need to be thinking about how they are architecting the autonomous enterprise. And that is Pega is something we've been talking about now for a while, and we're going to continue to lean into at Pega World. And all of this, right, really comes down to and becomes the first starting point in Blueprint. So, hopefully, everybody on this call, and I'm happy to get and take a sort of show of hands or applause, has used Blueprint and is using Blueprint on an ongoing basis. And we are not and do not view Blueprint as a purely sales tool, although it's a great selling tool and it's a great demo tool. It needs to be core to how we drive all of our deliveries. I'm personally owner of 3 different Pega applications inside of Pega. to support our sales team, some of our marketing efforts, etc. And we use Blueprint as the tool when now we define new workflows and things that need to go into that application. So we've been working both with our partners, but also, our own sales teams to bake Blueprint into almost every client conversation and every delivery. And we have some exciting stuff coming both in Blueprint and in the product. So let me take a little bit of time now, and I'm going to switch over and do a little bit of demo for all of you so that you can see some of the cool things that we have both put into Blueprint recently and also will continuously have coming. So,
And Don, I think that's a great timing, and it's awesome to do that because, I think some people aren't completely up to speed on the newest things that Blueprint can do, and they're still in their minds. They did it when it first came out, and they say, "Okay, you put in what you want, and it'll give you a workflow, and that's
yeah,
that." It is so much more. If
it
you
is.
haven't, yeah,
If
it's
you if
crazy
you
what it
if
can do.
one of the things that Karim is constantly saying, and I will repeat this, is if you haven't done a blueprint in the last week, you haven't done a blueprint.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
just the other day, Karim was posting on LinkedIn some of the enhancements that we put in. Literally, we just dropped this on Wednesday, right? So we've added the ability in Blueprint to upload documentations. So if you've got Word docs, PDFs, and that includes things that have pictures, so flowcharts, um, or images of existing applications, Blueprint will actually now use that as the starting point for building your app. And this is essential to some of the vision that we're going to be talking about at Pega World around being able to use Blueprint as the starting point for legacy transformations. We've been working with a lot of our partners. Many of you have some other tools for doing things like code analysis with Gen AI. We're feeding that into Blueprint so that you can then actually build your blueprints out. Um, we've also been adding a lot of industry specific capabilities for Blueprint. One of the things you're going to hear us start talking about next week, right? Here in the US, we're really interested in trying to find ways to drive more efficiency into the business. Well, I can actually go directly in now to a US government agency and select an area, say I want to do financial management modernization, right? And I want to operate for let's try the Department of Treasury. Right inside the US. There it is. And we'll go ahead now and generate a blueprint specific to that. So we've built in additional prompting and logic and best practices to support this ongoing work that we're all taking to hopefully drive more efficiency into the US government, but in a way that's not disruptive necessarily to the constituents and the citizens who depend on all of those services. But as we build out that blueprint, as Randy said, you've probably all seen this part of the show before, right? We're able to now take the prompts that I put in, use our library of best practices, and the underlying model of the Pega application. And I think people don't realize just how sophisticated the underlying interfaces between our library of best practices, some of the Gen AI models that we're using, and we're now actually using multiple Gen AI models behind the scenes inside of Blueprint, and then the underlying Pega structure itself to then get to here's the definition of all the applications that you have, right? Blueprint can also let you add additional case types for change in. And one of the things that we've also added is the ability to import BPMN. I have made no secret of my view that BPMN is pretty much a legacy way of modeling processes and that there are far better ways to describe your business processes. But our clients have lots of BPMN documents. And, one of I think the weaknesses of BPMN is they have lots of BPMN documents that document workflows, but they've never actually been able to turn into things they've implemented. Well, now with Blueprint, they can. You can import a BPMN model and we'll actually generate the new case type and the workflow with it. For each of these case types, we also, again, give you the full layout of the stages and steps. The ability to, if you want to, go in and change that, add the life cycle. We've added things like generative AI steps. into the case type lifecycle. So if you know that you want to be using generative AI to automate document processing or document management, we also, of course, along with the case, generate the full data model of the case, right? So what are all the fields? You also may have noticed we're starting to track things like the primary fields. And if you go into the settings area, we also have the ability now for you to define what are the fields that are required or expected when you create a new case. And those case creation fields become very important in terms of now how we define the API and how we define some of the other front end experiences that are generated on top of that. You can build parent-child relationships between your cases. So if you wanted to say that one of our other like the budget execution case became a child case for budget planning, you can actually define those child cases. You can define the attachment categories that if you want to have. So if I want to have a budget spreadsheet as part of my budget planning that I attach, I can actually have those attachment categories as part of this. And I can start to assign blueprints and some of the work that I'm doing to different efforts. And as we're working in the back end on some tooling that allows you to actually do dynamic project sizing off of Blueprint, this effort now becomes something that we can feed dynamically into that sizing document so that you can better understand the work it's going to take to build it. So again, all of that stuff is new over the last couple of Blueprint releases. I have the ability to have my data objects associated with the application. And again, we've added in the last couple of months the ability to import other data definitions, whether that's a YAML file from OpenAPI, a DDL file, so an actual database structure. And as we think about Blueprint becoming really a part of legacy transformation, being able to ensure you're connecting it to your existing systems of record, another sort of powerful and important thing. And of course, I hope many of you have played with and seen the ability to preview your application, right? So I can preview my blueprint. We've actually added, and this just showed up, the ability to have different themes. So you can actually now preview Blueprint in a brand inspired by whatever organization you're building the blueprint for, with the brand's logo and brand colors that we're able to deduce. Or you could select, some of your own brands and themes and be able to preview in different ways. You can even go into and edit the theme if you want to change the colors or the fonts or the way in which corners are displayed and how white space is used, right? If I want to have a more condensed view or if I want to have a more wide view, we give you the ability to build that right into the theme so that you can change dynamically these previews and really show the power of the Constellation user interface. Because under the covers, Blueprint is using the same rendering engine that Constellation is using. This is not like a Figma generated UI. This is the Constellation engine running on the Blueprint to generate the UI. And what I also don't know if many people have seen is just how rich this user experience is. Like you can click around in it. You can actually click the actions. You can click all the buttons. If I go into my dashboard, I can actually see reports. And we generate under the covers of the blueprint dummy data, generated data to let you actually see and preview what these reports look like. We've always had this ability now in Blueprint to do the mobile preview of the application. But one of the things that's popped up in the last couple of weeks is this ability to have a Salesforce extender preview. So many of you know that through the DX API, we're able to run Pega as native Lightning screens. So now you can actually see and preview the native Lightning experience of what happens in Blueprint. Web self-service, so embedded into the customer's website, and notice that we're actually using the org in the background to show that. All of this, again, sitting on top of the DX API. And notice that those case create fields are really what's driving that underlying API structure. But I mentioned that one of the things we added was this ability to have a conversational API using the Agent X or Agent Experience API. So you now can preview what it looks like to have an AI agent that is entirely powered by a Pega workflow. Or maybe another way of saying this, a Pega workflow that is entirely agentic. So I can say, I want to plan a budget. And that the AgentX API first searches through the workflows that are available, finds me one, and then starts asking me the question. So what is the name of the budget program? Budget is for new currency. We have 50 million in funding, and bonus is responsible. So we will from that actually fill it out, and you can actually see under the covers how we're mapping all of that free text directly into the fields of the case, right? So we're real time auditing
And not surprisingly, and probably on purpose, Don, completely topical, right? Because I do a lot of work with the government, and these are conversations we're having, and just what you're showing is just how easy you can do a demo to,
right.
to let them know. Because let's be honest, the first time you meet somebody and you start talking about Pega, or you get an opportunity to sit down with these folks, not everybody's intimate with what we do. And this always answers the question of what we do and how we do it, and just how easy and how quick you can show them gives them a feeling of, wow, this really works.
So so I can literally talk to this agent, right? And it will do all of the mapping. But again, people are concerned about agents not being able to be governed, not being able to be controlled. Everything this agent is doing is just a workflow, so it's being fully tracked and automated as a power across a workflow, and that's really, I think, pretty powerful. So if you haven't seen or dug in to the latest features of Blueprint, you are missing out. Now, the other thing that everybody should be aware of is we also recently launched a whole new blueprint for customer engagement. So those of you who are familiar with Customer Decision Hub and using Pega sort of one-to-one decisioning to drive better experiences for your customers may know sometimes that it's really hard to get a customer to really understand that experience. But I can now, with this, create a blueprint, and let me pick an organization here that I can be familiar. So I recently Randy and I were talking. I was recently out at Telluride, which is a ski resort out in Colorado. So I'm gonna find their website here. Right, so I'll find the Telluride ski resort. Here we go. There's the Telluride ski resort. And if you notice, they've got some stay packages, right? So they actually have this on their website. So I'm going to grab their featured lodging on their website. Actually, you know what? Maybe I'm going to go this way. I'm going to go to their summer stuff. So now, say I want to help the Telluride website get skiers to come back in the summer, right? And I want to be able to have messaging and decisioning that engages with skiers and gets them to consider Telluride as a summer destination as well. And what Blueprint's going to do is it's now going to go and look through the website. So it's now, this is an agent, truly sort of agentic processing. So it's going and looking at the website. It's looking at the industry, the products and services that are available. It found ski passes and tickets. I don't want to do ski passes, but I do want to do guided adventures and kids camps in the summer. That sounds like a good thing. And then what do we want to do? I want to cross-sell, upsell my existing ski customers to do this, and I want to help use this as a way to retain them. So I can select some of the outcomes that I want. I also can help Blueprint understand, well, how am I going to communicate? Well, I'm going to have my website. I'm going to send some email notifications. I maybe want to do some paid advertising to get people here. I also want to, when my travel agents get involved, I want them to be able to sell some of these awesome services. And I can also ask Blueprint to optimize and understand both the customer journeys that I want, but I can also have it go generate the data model that I need in order to drive all this decisioning under the covers. And so now Blueprint's going to take all this stuff that it's learned, so all the things that it started to pull and mine off the website. It's going to take some of the best practices and what we know needs to happen inside of building a customer decision hub application. It's going to do things like analysis of the brand voice. And it's going to take that and combine it all in a way that really speaks to a marketer. So I happen to run a lot of the marketing at Pega. And marketers love to talk about personas, right? Who are the people they want to engage with? And how do they understand the sort of different types of motivations that they may have, right? And again, simply by looking at the website and going through a couple of different AI models, Blueprint was able to figure out that, well, like, here are some great personas. And notice how kind of tailored these are, specifically to our business. You've got the active adventure seeker, you've got the family, you've got the thrill seeker, you've got somebody who just wants to have relaxation, and then you've kind of got the dad who wants to plan a sort of adventure trip for their family. Like, each of this now become real different customer contacts. And as with our other Blueprint, if you want to add personas or change or generate more, you can always do that.
John, I got to jump in and explain to people, this is not a canned demo. Like, this is off the cuff. Like, people understand, just 5 minutes before we started, Dawn and I just happened to talk about skiing, and we mentioned Telluride. And the thing that I'm jumping in to tell you that is, this is how, if you understand how Blueprint works, how easy it is to find an opportunity, how easy it is to sit down in front of somebody. Like, he could have done this with the CEO of Telluride just as easy as doing with us.
Yeah.
And he didn't set this up. Like, Telluride came up as a joke 5 minutes ago.
Right.
It's unbelievable, Don. Unbelievable.
And we've figured out, and we're now starting to use the power of Gen AI to, one, understand what's the brand voice, right? So how does Telluride want to talk to their clients? We've taken the idea of Cialdini's principles. So there are different ways of trying to persuade people, right? You have authority. Do you have reciprocity? Do you want to use kind of social proof? Do you want to look at scarcity, right? And we can actually tailor the message, right? Based on some of these different marketing tools. So now, right, we're talking to Active Alex, but if you notice, now we're saying, like, hey, our lodgings are filling up fast, right? You got to act now to secure your spot. So we can preview how these different messages feel to different personas and using different tones of voice, right? Different and different principles to persuade them. So we've now established the way we want to talk to our customer. We've also gone through then and generated, based on all of that, what are the different kinds of offers that we want to have. So what would be, based, again, some of the things that we found on the website, but also some of the ideas, what would be the communications, the offers, the next best actions that we could build into a library to engage these potential clients at Telluride to, not just come here for skiing, but pop back in the summer to do some additional things. And we're going to look through those experiences through the lens of all the different both channels that we talked about, as well as the different personas that we were thinking there. So Blueprint's kind of doing its work behind the scenes. And again, as Randy said, like, this is not me kind of pre-canning this stuff. This is me using Blueprint in real time. But the other thing that I think everybody on this call needs to realize is this now allows all of us to go and find some of those conversations, not just for Pega as a workflow tool, which we can do with the workflow Blueprint, but also as a marketing and decisioning tool. And many of you might have we work for partners who have some specialization and expertise on the CDH side. And what I'm seeing as I work with our specialists there, this makes the conversation so much easier and faster, right? So look at some of the things it came up with. We could offer a summer package. We could offer a winter to summer transition. And the great thing is, just like you can simulate the user experience, I can actually simulate the next best action and help my client understand why next best action is so powerful. Because we could offer adventure, or I'm sorry, active Alex, all these different things, right? Look at all the different ways in which we could engage him. But next best action is smarter than that. It actually goes through and figures out eligibility. Alex might not be in the right zip code to receive some things. It figures out applicability, right? Maybe Alex has already been given or used some of the offers that we're doing. It figures out suitability. Maybe based on what we know about Alex, some of these things don't fit his budget. It maybe has some constraints, right? Maybe we can only send so many emails to Alex. So if you notice, some of the things went away. And then it does arbitration. It thinks about, well, based on each of these, based on the propensity, the context weighting, the actual value if Alex signs up and does this thing, right? And any business lever, what's the next best action for Alex? And then it recommends it. So once again, I've gone from having customer decision hub and the context of decisioning being this sort of theoretical thing that I need a data scientist to talk about, to something that's real and something that anybody can experience. So if you haven't played with Customer Engagement Blueprint, I encourage everybody to take their time, get in there, play with it. So let me just pause real quick and take a scan through the Q&A. So all of this stuff, Customer Engagement Blueprint, the blueprint itself, it's all just on Pega.com. So go to pega.com/blueprint, pega.com/cdh-blueprint, and you'll log in with your Pega community ID and you're off and running. So everybody can access this. It's available for everyone. And that's why I encourage everyone to we want this stuff to be accessible. We want you to use it. We also want your feedback, because we're continuously adding to it to make it better. Any other questions that people will have before I pop in and talk a little bit about some of the roadmap direction and where we're going?
And again, feel free to jump in with questions on Q&A. Don is going to take them in real time, so please don't hesitate if you got one. We've got one that came in here, Don.
Yes. So one of the questions is about using Blueprint for existing customers. I use Blueprint. Blueprint, you can import a Blueprint into an existing app. So if you want to add case types to a new app, Blueprint should be your start to an existing app. Blueprint should be your starting point. If you want to start showing existing customers the power of some of the things that we're doing in Constellation, Blueprint is a great starting point. We've been building, and I'll talk a little about some of the tools that we're putting in place to help with that UI kit to Constellation move. And Blueprint is a part of that, but there's also some other things that we've done around the side as well. So let me share a little bit. I'm going to talk a little bit about roadmap. So people often ask me, what's Pega's roadmap? Where are you going? What's coming next?
Yeah, and Don, real quick, as it relates to CDH Blueprint, there's going to be some offshoots of what we're doing here. We're going to do some specific CDH enablement and some specific CDH webinars like this that we're working on with that team.
Excellent.
It's semi-subjects or smaller subjects, just to bring in the specificity of it. So that's coming up.
And I will say, there is, if you go talk and go demo like CDH Blueprint to a marketer, you do want to make sure that you're prepared to answer the kinds of questions they're going to ask about how does this integrate with my existing MarTech, and what's my CDP do in terms of providing a data source, and how are you handling things like brand voice management. So there there is a layer of, just in the same way that if you were going to take a blueprint and show somebody from claims a claims blueprint, you won't have the expertise to talk about their business. I think it's really important that with CDH blueprint, we're building up the expertise to really understand not just the product, but the needs of the people we're selling it to.
Yeah, and we have one of our partner managers is actually a resource who's an expert on CDH. His name's Jared. So for specifically for partners to help them get where they need to be with their teams on this.
Excellent. So when people ask me about roadmap, one of the things that I want to be pretty direct about is some of the specifics of the roadmap are moving pretty fast. And part of that is just the fact that right now the technology market is moving fast. Each time OpenAI or Google or Anthropic release a new version of a foundational model, it changes the game as to what's possible. So we're constantly adjusting. But what I can tell you is there's some big themes that I think are going to be pretty consistent as we look across the next couple of years. Blueprint enabled transformation and legacy modernization. So using Blueprint to help drive new workflows and help our clients transform and modernize their legacy systems is going to be a big part of our direction, both for the transformation and modernization of, in some cases, some of their existing Pega apps that may need to move forward, but more broadly, and I think the bigger opportunity for all of us is modernizing and enhancing their legacy applications that are sitting on old platforms like mainframes and Lotus Notes and Siebel and other technology that they're looking to move off of. So we're continuing to enhance Blueprint to drive that. And the great thing about Blueprint, as you just saw, right, is there's new stuff showing up in it almost every week. So continue to watch that evolution.
Hey, Don, in that evolution, a question came in asking if we have the ability to create a blueprint from an older blueprint or to update blueprints with new issues that come up.
Yeah, so you can always go back into and update a blueprint. One of the things that we're working on is how do we help our clients take some of their existing apps and make that visible, the contents of those apps visible to Blueprint, so that then you can build a blueprint on top of the already existing library of assets you have. So that is active work that's underway. The other thing that's underway that I think is going to be really exciting for our partners is folks know about the capability we have called Knowledge Buddy. So Knowledge Buddy is basically Pega's implementation of a RAG-based repository. RAG stands for Retrieval Augmented Generation. It's a implementation of a vector database to work with Gen AI. Our use of we have this capability called Knowledge Buddy. One of the things that's going to be coming is the ability to plug Blueprint into a Knowledge Buddy. So Blueprint can source its best practices from a repository of content. I think this is going to be game-changing for our partners. Because here's why. You'll be able to take all of your assets, your best practices, your domain, right? And I know most of our partners already have knowledge repositories of best practices for an industry or projects they've delivered or things workflow designs they have. Take that repository, point Knowledge Buddy at it so it gets indexed and prepared for generative AI, and then point Blueprint at that Knowledge Buddy. So now you'll be able to go to your clients with a blueprint that is a reflection of your specific domain expertise and best practices. And Blueprint becomes a tool not for selling Pega specifically, although we like the fact that Pega's in the name, but for you to sell your hard-won best practices and intellectual property and domain expertise. And I think that's going to be really, really powerful for all of you as you look to differentiate what you can offer to our clients. So I'm really excited about that. Look for that, hopefully by Pega World.
Awesome. Don, two quick questions on the Q&A. The first one is, does Blueprint build in Cosmos or only Constellation?
Only Constellation, baby.
Move
Blueprint,
forward.
Blueprint, new case types, new apps. We should be building in Constellation. And that's what when you import Blueprint, that's what you get.
Right. But I don't know the answer to this one. Is Blueprint able to read code, example, Java code from an old application to retire? And if yes, is there a limit in the lines of code?
So you can put code into that document import. There is a limitation on the size of documents, and currently it's only one document. We are looking to change that and have the ability to import multiple documents. We are also working with other partners who have their own tools that interpret code. So um, there are a number of partners both on the SI side and a couple of partners that we've been worked with on the cloud side who've built some of their own tools that can do code analysis with Gen AI. And we've also exposed Blueprint as an API so that if you have your own tool that does code analysis or document analysis or anything, you can actually connect that tool directly into Blueprint and have it push its insights into Blueprint. So, yes, we're going to have some of that ability in Pega, but we also think that a lot of our partners have been building some of that as well, and we want to make sure that we interface Blueprint well with it.
Some on the Knowledge Buddy, can Knowledge Buddy with RAG be extended as a service outside of Pega Cloud to other cloud possibilities?
Yes. So now Knowledge Buddy is just an implementation of Pega. We've made we've done the initial deployments of Knowledge Buddy and have it been Pega Cloud only. We are looking at putting together the business case, and again, this will just be a business case we drive inside of Pega of whether or not we make that available for deploying outside. I I do not have a specific answer on that yet, but I do know that we are hearing, especially from some of our customers outside the US, that there is an increasing desire to make sure that they aren't becoming beholden to US based cloud technology in many cases. So I don't know why that is, but that is a request we're hearing more frequently.
All right. And one last one in there is, and I know the answer to this, but I'm not sure if it's being asked, is there a way to get an organizational view or inventory of blueprints?
That's a great question. So that is another thing that the product team is working on, which is how do I set up the idea of sort of an almost organizational administrator, an organizational dashboard that allows somebody to see all the blueprints in an org and manage them. Also, sort of build again a library of shared assets that all those blueprints can point into. So that has been something that the team is working on. You know, the other thing I will say, and I just want to make sure that we all understand this and that you can pass it on to our clients. When you build a blueprint, the only thing Pega can see is the email, the org associated with the blueprint if you put in an org name, and the name of the blueprint. We can't see the detail, we can't see the prompts, we can't see the specifics of the cases or the decisions you configure as you go further down. So all we see is that a blueprint was created for this org with this email address with this name. So the other thing that I think we all need to just make sure is that we continue to make sure our clients feel comfortable with the fact that their data is safe and they're not exposing their data to Pega or anybody else when they build a blueprint.
Yeah, absolutely. And John, a thing to add in there too, for individually, when you log in to community and you go to pega.com/blueprint, you can see all of yours.
Yes.
So if you're out there making them and you make 1 or 100, they're saved. You can go back and look at them at any time in case
You
you
go
don't
back and
know.
look at, and you also can share them with people. So you
That's
can
correct.
explicitly
Collaborate.
share them with other people, and then you can see not only all of your blueprints, but you can see all the blueprints that have been shared with you.
Yeah. And they can, of course, collaborate and edit
Yes.
them if it's shared that way.
That's right. That's right. So a couple other big themes on the roadmap. Agentic automation. We'll talk a little bit about that. I'll even show you a quick demo if I have time. Adding AI assistance to the software development lifecycle. So one of the big things that's coming in 25.1 is improved test automation and AI-based test case generation, which I think is something that for a lot of our clients who do not have currently adequate automated test coverage of their applications in Pega will be a game changer in terms of how they maintain and upgrade those applications. Continuing to invest in the user experience across channels with Constellation. I'll share some of the stuff that we're doing to help begin the transformation of some existing apps into Constellation, delivering customer service across scales, and then, in the pink here, adding improved outbound marketing automation and journey orchestration to our customer decision hub, doing multi-agent marketing and engagement optimization, and then doing all of this on continuing to evolve our modern cloud architecture infrastructure, Pega Cloud or Pega as a service. So while some of the specifics move pretty fast, these overall themes I think are pretty universal in terms of how we are thinking about what we're focusing time on over the next couple of years. So I'm going to pull out a couple of examples of some things that are coming that I think are interesting. Again, in CDH, there's a lot around outbound and distributed marketing. There's improved zero copy data access with providers like Snowflake and GCP. There's better optimization and blending in more and more of Gen AI to do things like find and optimize different aspects in the product. The ability of Blueprint to drive legacy modernization. So, we have the ability now to do BPMN and pull in OpenAI and pull in process mining and data DDL. We're going to have bulk BPM analysis and legacy documentation and more docs coming in the future. So continuing to evolve Blueprint there. We want to make autopilot, the helper tool inside of Pega, faster and easier. So being able to have this directly link you to documentation, being able to give it the ability to actually start doing things. So do test case generation, debugging and assistance. The other thing we're looking to do is better have consistency across autopilot and the Pega community experience. So making sure that whatever you ask autopilot, if you go on docs.pega.com or community.pega.com, you're always getting the same answers. So really driving a consistent experience for all of our developers across platforms is a big focus for me. Continuing to work on Constellation and supporting the center out architecture. We've added Constellation for Smart Investigate and Smart Disputes and all of the apps now. We're adding new versions to the Constellation SDKs. We're also adding some things around Constellation modernization. So there is on the marketplace today a Constellation modernization assistant that will actually both analyze your application and do some initial work on the modernization. This is in progress. We've got it on the marketplace so that we can keep it, we can up to date it continuously outside of our standard release cycle. So, if you're thinking about moving or transforming an existing app from section based or UI kit based UIs to Constellation, the product team would love to engage, help you drive that, and help you make sure that you're putting the right plans in place to do it. But we are helping. We're really ready to begin the sort of incremental modernization of some of the existing applications. The app actually does some issue identification. It creates views based on your section rules. It also gives you a list of the things that it can't automated do. So that you actually can then actually go and fix the things that may need a little bit more of a manual work. We've added a lot to the Constellation UI gallery. So new visualizations that is continuously being updated. That UI gallery is on Marketplace and on GitHub, but in 25.1, it's actually just going to be in Pega. So you'll be able to, in App Studio, view the UI gallery and add new UI capabilities directly to your application right from App Studio, which I think is going to be pretty powerful in terms of the ever growing set of UI widgets that you have available to you. We've got the additional ability in terms of process AI and process mining to add more availability to derive intelligence and suggestions dynamically. We're also adding ability to do some things around better AI processing of documentations. So let me show you one last thing here. See if I can get in here and show this to y'all. Go. Pull this up. So this is a preview of some stuff that we have been working on. So I've got an application here that's just a simple expense application. So it has some case types for, an expense report, which is just a case type in Pega. Nothing fancy about this. We actually built this by importing a blueprint. So, just so everybody gets how that stuff all kind of works. But I also have the ability now, with some of this agentic stuff, to access this case type entirely as an agent, right? So, I can simply type into a little agent here. And what we're going to do under the covers, again, through that Agent X API, is discover the workflows that are currently in this system and dynamically map my input directly into that workflow to kick off exactly the right process and guide me through it. Or at least that's what I would expect it to do, but it doesn't seem like it's working right now. Hold on, let me try this one more time. If not, I will do this manually and show you some other things. But I should be able to create that case type. But even if I can't, let me show you one thing that I do think is really pretty sweet, which is if I create this expense report and say I'm going to create it for James Taylor, to Maine, travel, and it was on Wednesday. One of the things that Pega has generally not had as great a capability as we would like is document processing. But now I've got the ability, let me go grab a couple of receipts here. I have a dinner receipt. And again, these are just, I can, these are just, right, just receipts. That's literally a receipt for when I got a sub on the airport a couple weeks ago. If I go ahead and click next, we're actually going to use Gen AI to do some automated document processing in the background. So we've built in now with Gen AI some document processing capability into the core of Pega. So what we've done now is for each of these receipts, we've used AI to basically grab the receipt, grab the description, do all the line item analysis of it. So this is intelligent document processing inside of Pega directly through a document agent service that we've built. So expect in 25.1 or even sooner to be able to have this kind of automated document processing built directly into your Pega application. So we're pretty excited about that as well.
Yeah, that's huge.
So I think some really, really cool and exciting stuff coming. The GA date for 25.1 is probably post Pega World. So right now we're looking at July, August. Depending on feedback at Pega World, it may push into early September, but I think around that time frame probably late Q2, early Q3. Around Bix, something actually already came around Bix in 24.2. So in 24.2, we introduced an idea called real-time Bix, where I have change aware rules basically running on my cases that as data is updated or added in a case, automatically pushes that data change onto a Kafka queue. So instead now of having to have a manual or timed extract of case data, I can have a real-time feed on a Kafka queue of data that is changing that I can feed in real time into my data warehouse. So the initial version of that was in 24.2. We're continuing to refine it in 25.1. But our goal is to make batch extracts go away and do everything through real-time event streams going forward. Well, great. If there are no other questions, thank you everybody. It's
Yeah,
always
Don,
fun to spend time with this team. It's always great to see the questions. If there's something pops up, feel free to email me or Randy. We'd love to continue to engage. But it's a really exciting time to be in the Pega ecosystem. It's like it is such a great opportunity for all of us. And I think with some of the stuff that's happening with Blueprint, I think we are setting up some of you as partners to just have really great strategic conversations with your clients and help deliver real value to them, but also grow your businesses. So we're pretty excited to keep working with that in the future.
Yeah, Don, it's like you said, it's a great time to be a Pega and selling Pega and working with Pega and your clients, their clients, they're going to see just great things come from it. It just keeps getting better and better. Don, thank you. Nobody
All
does
right.
it better. I mean, nobody does it better, just like Gemini said, skilled and excellent. It brings us to the close of another Pega Partner Hour. I want to just give great thanks to everybody who shows up month to month, especially to my man in the background, John Lynch, who makes it all happen. It does not happen without him. And of course, today, Don Schuerman, thank you. Thank you very much. We really, it was just a great presentation. I don't know, I'm more impressed probably than anybody because of the skiing analogy and the pop in real quick that you did. It just shows the power of what we do.
Awesome.
So, all right, everybody, we'll see you next month, April 11th, where our guest will be back by popular demand, Karim Agnul. So until then, sell and be well. Thank you very much for joining. We're glad to have brought it to you and glad you showed up.
Bye, y'all.